Far away from here, there is a place where a little red train carries you up mountains to a city suspended between earth and sky. A city that gazes over valleys blushing pink at dawn and smoldering gold at dusk. A place where the air, sharp and invigorating, carries the scent of cedar and distant snow. Where vibrant bazaars trade in wares, food, and tradition unchanged for generations. And where, long ago, the rich and powerful once held their seat. No, this is not the opening of a fairy tale or the setting of a Miyazaki fable. This place is real. It exists today just as I have described it. And it is the destination of a journey with deep personal significance, not just for me, but for my traveling companions, my brothers. A journey that will take us into chaos through a nation of billions, into jungles and forests, to this wonderful, bizarre place that clings to the Himalayas, Shimla.
Here's the plan. We have arrived in Delhi, aided and abetted by our father, airline kingpin, Don Hunter, at New Delhi station now, and we're going to jump on a train, a slow train, to Chandigarh up in the Punjab, capital of the Punjab, spend a night there before going to Kalka station and then taking the train up into Shimla, 7,000 feet of climbing. So this is chaos. This is fun. Let's see where the day takes us.
So what are we doing here? What is this personal journey I'm talking about? I'm here with my brothers, Andrew and Will. It's a rare treat for the three of us to be together, let alone travel together, which we haven't done since 1997.
Ours is supposed to arrive in 3 minutes.
There have been plans for a brothers trip in the works for over 15 years, but life, children, and a horrific injury that Will is still recovering from scuppered plans with frustrating regularity. But this one was going to stick. It had to.
Yes! Finally!
This isn't just a lad's tour. There's purpose to this journey beyond a brother's reunion. Earlier this year, our grandmother passed away at the grand old age of 100. She was a huge presence in our life. Our grandmother had a deep connection and affinity with India. She spent time in Delhi throughout the early part of her life, which is why we chose to start our journey here. But she was born and raised in the summer capital of British India, Shimla. So this is less of a journey and more of a pilgrimage. My grandmother was a fastidious diary writer. From her teenage years to pretty much the day she died, she kept a daily diary. She was also a very tough, adventurous outdoorswoman, much more at home in the Himalayas than a Holiday Inn. Rather wonderfully, she also kept detailed travel journals of her legion trips all over the world.
Remarkably, I have one of her diaries from when she was in Shimla in 1944 during World War II and working as a 20-something professional. I also have a journal she kept on a trip back to Shimla in 1975, a day-by-day account of rediscovering the places and the people that she grew up with. And it's this that we'll use as our guide as we retrace her steps and rediscover the places that meant so much to her, but until now, were just a name and a place on a map.
So with that in mind, where were we? Or are we, I suppose? But we are on a 3-hour delayed train and just spent 3 hours on the platform at New Delhi station. So I would say, let's see where the rest of this journey takes us. It's a long ride to Chandigarh. My original plan was to take the afternoon train, allowing us to see our journey shift and move through the window. Alas, our delay meant it was dark by the time we even departed, so we kept ourselves busy with crosswords and rapid sorties on and off the train for refreshment. Indian Railways is the 8th largest employer in the world, with 1.6 million people working to transport 10 million passengers daily across this vast country. And when I say vast, to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, the train we're on began its journey in Goa nearly 2 days ago, over 2,000 kilometers away.
Going at quite a clip.
They might come late, but these trains move. And half a crossword later, we arrive at our overnight destination, Chandigarh. Time to get some rest. We have quite the journey ahead of us.
Chandigarh is an interesting place for a few reasons. Firstly, it's the shared capital of 2 states, Punjab and Haryana. Secondly, it was the first master plan city after independence, complete greenfield site, and the responsibility for that plan was given to legendary Swiss-French architect Le Corbusier. And his remit from the government was essentially, you see all this stuff that the British built? Make it look not like that. So it is purposefully, almost self-consciously modern as a way to define itself post-independence architecturally and structurally. My grandmother came through here in 1975 and observed Chandigarh is like most purpose-built cities. Long, straight roads, modern concrete buildings, and in all directions, things look unfinished, with piles of earth, scaffolding, etc. everywhere. I don't think a lot has changed, but that's what you pay for progress.
With Chandigarh in the rearview mirror and the irresistible rhythm of Indian life through the window, our taxi takes us to Kalka station with the hope that this train is on time.
India and England is very different. Time is England is very compulsory. No compromise. Time is more fast. India is no problem.
Welcome, sir. Station.
Embracing our new Indian outlook on time management, we're now ready for whatever Kalka station has in store for us.
Welcome to the serenity of Kalka station, a wonderful contrast compared to the chaos and freneticism of New Delhi station. From here, we take the Himalayan Queen, the toy train, 4.5 hours, 7,000 feet of climbing up to the hill station in Shimla. It's a completely different train line. It's a narrow gauge line, completely disconnected from the rest of the Indian rail network, which comes through here. The decor is probably exactly the same as my grandmother would have remembered it in 1975. And I say that without exaggeration, but that's what adds to the charm of this whole experience, which I'm really looking forward to. So there's a little bit of a complication with this trip, and that is I don't really like group travel. In fact, I hate it. The only people I like traveling with are my wife, my children, and Greg. And that's only because he doesn't speak English. But so far, I would say that it's going pretty well. What you expected?
Train-wise, better.
Better than Delhi.
Better than Delhi and just better than I was expecting.
I think what I like about this is that it's a bit of a time machine. Yesterday was functional. It was designed to move people. This feels like a little bit of a relic.
What do you think our top speed has been so far?
30 kilometers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least.
I wasn't really worried about dropping anything out of the window because
You
I'll
got
just
it.
get out and get it and run back.
And that's not as far-fetched as it sounds. People seem to jump on and off the train whenever it suits them, much to the chagrin of the conductor.
The journey from Kalka to Shimla is only 53 miles, but in that short distance, you climb 7,000 feet. In the 4.5 hours it takes to complete the journey, you pass through 108 tunnels and over nearly 1,000 bridges and aqueducts, many of which are over 100 years old. It's an engineering marvel. But speaking of tunnels, we're about to pass through the infamous Barrog Tunnel, named after Colonel Barrog, who was tasked with its completion. He thought it prudent to dig the tunnel from both ends. And when they didn't meet up in the middle, he shot himself.
But just after you pass through his ultimately successful tunnel, Barrog is immortalized with a station bearing his name. And, at the risk of sounding glib, it's also home to some pretty great refreshment.
There's only 3 stops along the way. This is the only one of significance because 8 minutes, the others are only 1 minute each. It's a good opportunity to stretch your legs. We've been sitting for hours, but also fuel up. There's amazing food here. Thali boxes and samosas, everything smells amazing. Obviously, very popular as well. Go on, have one. That's delicious.
Yeah.
I watched Michael Palin eat one of these in his show. Actually, he fed it to his cameraman. He fed it to his cameraman.
Fed and watered, it's time to get back on track.
It's go time. Something S, ESS, ELI. Every Saturday, our grandmother did the Times crossword religiously, accompanied by between 1 and 6 suspiciously priced French beers. And we always tried to do it as well, but what she would do in a day, it took us the better part of a week. And even now, with the 3 of us, plus Greg, it's still difficult, but it is very satisfying to carry on this tradition. We're doing quite well.
52 miles might sound inconsequential,
So 47.
but one moment you're fixated on solving that elusive 47 across, and the next moment you look up and the landscape has changed completely.
After well over 4 hours of climbing and not many stops, we're getting tantalizingly close to Shimla. The landscape has changed dramatically, not just with the hills, but in the trees. You've gone from kind of almost jungle-like in the plains around Chandigarh to coniferous trees up here. It's more northern California than it is northern India. Every now and then as we turn a corner where we get a glimpse of Shimla through the smog, which I hope lifts so we can see the Himalayas. But I'm getting very excited.
Slowly but surely, Shimla emerges from the haze, and something that was always just an idea or a concept finally becomes reality. Leaving the train, our next and final stop for the day is the Oberoi Cecil, our home for the next few days. Our grandmother often mentioned this place in her war diaries, and in her 1975 journal she said, "It is costing us £8.90 for all meals and rooms." Pretty good deal. She was especially taken by the views and the sealed toilet for some reason. I too am impressed by the toilet and the views, though I've been warned against opening the windows unless I'm ready to fight a monkey. I have to admit, I do kind of want to fight a monkey. This grand hotel began as a modest cottage, gaining fame when one Rudyard Kipling became a frequent guest. At just 17 years old, Kipling spent 5 summers here, escaping Lahore for the serenity of Shimla. Within these walls, then known as Tendril Cottage, he found the stories that would inspire works like Plain Tales from the Hills. Cheers to keeping good company then. Rested and ready, we greet a new day, finding first impressions of Shimla as it stirs into life. Our first point of reference is the Viceregal Lodge, a steady hike up from the Oberoi. For 60 years in the 19th and 20th century, 1/5 of humanity was ruled from a single room in this building, the Viceregal Lodge. A monument to Victorian hubris and temerity, it sits uneasily on a ridge overlooking Shimla. In an uncomfortable, almost insult to injury historical footnote, many of the talks that ultimately led to Indian independence took place here. Gandhi, who took part in these talks, did not like this building, and when many of the other leaders were brought here in rickshaw, carried by men, he chose to walk.
But the Indian attitude towards the legacy of British rule seems measured and sensible. There was no wholesale desecration of buildings and monuments post-independence. Rather, many of them were repurposed and reused, including the lodge, which is now the Indian Institute of Advanced Study.
But explore Shimla and you'll feel surrounded by the past. Relics of bygone eras loom large on the city's landscape, now reclaimed by the people. And you won't find a better example than the Mall, the beating heart of Shimla, full of life but with very obvious echoes of British influence. And a particular landmark makes for an important pin on our map, Christchurch.
Great granny got married there, right?
Yeah.
Great granny got married there.
So marriages, christenings, confirmations,
Yeah.
all happened here.
And in Granny's diary, in 1975, they went to a service here, and Granny said, quote, "It went on a little bit, and it was 4 hours."
Oh, God.
in Hindi and then in English. So each line of the sermon, which the sermon was 90 minutes, was said in English and then translated into Hindi.
Yeah.
And if Granny says it went on a little bit, that means it was
Unbearable.
interminable. Yeah.
Yes.
Much to our delight, Granny's dedication to her diary continues to lead us on a personal trail of Shimla, which all felt eerily familiar.
Michael Palin said when he came here in 2000 something that Shimla is like Indian Tunbridge Wells. And given that I and Andrew both live in Tunbridge Wells, I'm a little bit irritated at how accurate that is.
And another wonderful breadcrumb presents itself.
Gaiety Theatre, which I think was the only game in town for things to do,
Yeah.
and did all the films, which Granny listed to the point of a little bit of OCD. Every film she watched, every play, and then she actually, in each diary entry, she gave a little review of the plays. Really great film, and I enjoyed it. And then there are others saying not so good, which means it was appalling. But in the diary, this is 1944, she's kept all of the playbills from these, and they've all got like local ads. But this one I thought you'd really enjoy because it's got a little bit of sibling banter written on the back of it. PJ Grant is a lunatic, a mentally deficient individual. Ha ha ha, very big joke. PJ Grant is our 97-year-old great aunt, the youngest sister.
Picking on the youngest.
And it makes me feel a little bit better about myself that there was sibling bants.
Nothing's changed in 100 years.
A lunatic, a mentally deficient individual.
Walk the bustling bazaar and you will find yourself suspended in time. At once modern and ancient, where Shimla's vibrant past is so visceral in the present. Traditions, ingredients, techniques, and wares unchanged for generations sit comfortably alongside our modern-day conveniences. And as transfixing as it was, we had a mission: to find the house our grandmother grew up in. We had very few clues to its precise location. No one in the family had laid eyes on it in decades. We knew it was near the United Services Club, the old British institution my great-grandparents ran. But what we found there had us fearing if the house even existed anymore.
Oh, Jesus.
I imagine all of these stags and stuff on the wall were from the original club days.
And we found the club, which is, well, in a state of disrepair to say the least. But now we're searching for their house, which was in the grounds of the United Services Club, but we just have an old black and white photo to go off of, and the search begins.
Our search leads us into the hills behind the U.S. Club, where curious residents are keen to help.
This house is where my grandmother lived. This one?
No.
But don't seem to recognize the house from the photo.
And they lived in a cottage within the grounds of the club, so, which is this place here. So
So you just have the picture, you don't know
that's
the
it.
location?
Well, we know it's near the club. So, are there more houses up here?
Yeah. You can go
Up this way.
Yeah.
Okay. This way, guys.
We felt frustratingly close,
It's called Club Cottage.
but then the
Maybe
clues
you can
began to
show it
take
you
us
can
in
see if you
circles.
can Point it out. Down. A long way? Okay, thank you.
Despite the best efforts of everyone we spoke to, it all started to feel a little bit hopeless.
Maybe it's gone. Yeah.
Let's go down and have a look.
Okay, we'll take a look. Thank you.
Thank you.
Suddenly, Shimla feels vast and overwhelming. Thousands of houses crammed into a mountainside, and we were looking for a needle in a haystack.
Let me read the description from what Granny said. Almost impossible to get to our house as the road is blocked off top and bottom, as it is now a private house. The garden is just a patch of grass and the house itself looks very shabby. They have added a green veranda-like bit. Otherwise, it's just the same.
It's a green veranda.
Was there one of those back where we just went?
We would have noticed it from the eaves of the house.
Watch out for monkey poop.
Way where the monkeys will give you rabies bad. Here comes a dog who looks like he might be nice, but I don't know.
And just as we were beginning to lose our collective mind,
Club Cottage, this is it. Right here. Look.
there it was.
Yeah.
It actually existed.
That's it. This is it.
Right. I think we go in.
I think we go in too. Well,
It's open.
yep. Wow, that was a stroke of luck.
And it was exactly as described. Another shimmering artifact floating in Shimla's magic.
There's the green veranda.
I would never have spotted this in a million years.
Oh, hello.
Protected by monkeys now.
It's the new residence.
If we get a better view on the other side.
Hard agree.
There's where that car is sticking out. Looks like a road going back up the other side.
These are the windows.
Yeah?
Where you can see it's the same style of window. Do you see?
Oh, yeah.
As we approached the house, it became clear no one was in, and hadn't been for a long time. But just being there felt surreal and absolutely worth the searching.
Hello?
It was hard to believe that after all this time, after all this searching, I was walking these hallowed grounds myself.
I don't think there's anybody here.
Down to the tiniest detail, her presence was everywhere.
Granny had hydrangeas growing in her burnt house garden. Truly didn't think we were going to find it, so that's nice. So she lived here from when? 19...
23.
23 to around 47, right?
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
her 100th birthday was 2023.
It's quite surreal to be here because Granny talked about this place forever.
Before we set off, I don't think I appreciated just how important this journey would be for me, Andrew, and Will. The brothers, finally traveling again together after so many years. A joyous milestone in itself, given how rarely our lives align and we fall into each other's orbit. It was also an opportunity to experience this incredible country together, a country bursting with life, color, chaos, and beauty. But perhaps most importantly, it was a chance to finally add light, texture, and sound to the place where Granny began her journey. The place where she was born, lived, and spoke of with such admiration and joy for as long as any of us can remember. And now, in some small way, she was passing it on to us, knowing we'd be following in her footsteps through the places that meant so much to her. And in doing so, we found a way to connect with her one last time. There comes a point in each of our lives when we are set free, whether we like it or not. The final link that tethers us to the past, to our childhood, to a generation, breaks, and we're left floating alone, wondering who we are and what we're supposed to do now. For me, and I suspect my brothers and cousins too, our grandmother was the one reassuring constant in our otherwise protean and itinerant lives. For as long as we can remember, she was always there. This trip was a powerful reminder
that in many ways, she always will be.
And hey, I know I'll be back to Shimla. After all, I still got a monkey to fight.